Something's wrong with my screen now. Just move
Well,
around a little bit.
it's external. I'm sorry.
My screen, I can't see the top of my head. Oh, don't show this again. All right. That's why there was a little pop-up message. Okay, here we are. Let's get settled, look around, see who's here. Want to skip having, okay, I'm getting all these little pop-ups. Um, it's good to be able to ignore those.
I don't know how to stop this.
So, I'm Susan Campbell, and today we're going to talk about dependency. And here's a question I've been pondering off and on my whole life. I kind of go through phases where I ponder this question. Does everyone have a secret wish to be taken care of? Sit with that for a minute. What, you got an opinion there? Does everyone, do I have a secret wish to be taken care of?
Yes.
Yes. And maybe for some of us it's a wish we've worked hard to manage or work against all our lives. But probably for most people, this would be my theory, if there is this secret wish, it's for most people, it's secret from themselves. It's
Hmm.
repressed. It's
Hmm.
underlies a lot of the decisions we
That's
make
weird.
in our lives, but particularly in marriage type relationships. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on most, but also just things like people pleasing, not being able to commit. I wonder if
I'll just.
a secret dependency wish shows up in life and in your marriage type relationships or when you're seeking a partner, if it shows up in patterns like the inability to commit or being hypersexual in order to bind people to you, like knowing how to get somebody addicted to you. Some of you will relate to this, and some of you will, oh, I see some big smile there. You're giving yourselves away. Uh, so I've run into all of these things that I'm going to mention either in my work or in myself, and I would say polyamory, um, being a caretaker or seeking a caretaker and a partner. So if there is this secret dependency wish, it could show up in a lot of different patterns, trying to not ever depend on anybody or being fully kind of owning that you need to be taken care of and owning that. So that's where I'm starting out. I'm starting out with a question, and I don't have an exact answer. And I also don't want to prescribe what's exactly healthy and unhealthy, although you will, and I will address this. Uh,
Susan, I want to interrupt because some
yes.
people are not muted right now, and so the sound keeps getting interrupted by the people who are not
Okay,
muted.
let me see if I can mute all here. There usually is a way for me to do that. Nope. No, will you all mute yourself, please? That's not showing up as one of my options. And I think that's because Zoom didn't even put me as the host. I had to sign in just like all the rest of you today. So, sometimes technology doesn't work as planned, but it looks like most everybody's muted now. So, this theme, I'm not sure where I was here. I've got a few notes. Oh, the whole idea of healthy and unhealthy. I'm not going to prescribe, you should be right here. My whole orientation is everybody's got to be right where they are. And hopefully today, uh, I'll be able to say some things that will help you really accept right where you are with regard to being secretly wanting to be taken care of, that whole thing, or being open about that, or knowing where you are kind of needy and where you're not able, not where you're fully able to take care of things on your own. So let me just start by reflecting with you. And there will be, let me just say this, there'll be time for Q&A in the middle, and I'm also going to do an exercise with you after a while where we'll share. But first, I just want to set some things up. So we all grew up little, independent, in a world of big people. So we depended on these big people for our very survival. And we depended on them at first to, food, shelter, physical and emotional safety, to even know how to put into words who you are, to have a concept, like a self-concept. Well, we depend on others. And we're very, very attuned to these others, these big people, particularly when you're tiny. And parents don't realize how attuned or how aware, in a weird sort of a way, not self-aware really, but just tuned in to whether the parent is there, is present, or absent, distracted, wrapped up in their own needs. Little people are really attuned to this whole notion of safety. And am I safe with this person? And so that vigilance is something that we if things aren't harmonious between the mother and child or the early caregiver and the child, this is a disturbance in the child's world, obviously. And I want to throw up a screen share, just the way I summarize what all children need to feel well taken care of and to grow up healthy. So here's a quick screen share, and I'll go through these items. So as I read through this, and as you read through it with me, you'll have to reflect on your own life. I think we'll be moved to reflect on how well did this basic childhood need get met. We all need protection, safety, both emotional and physical safety. So how safe did you feel at an early age? How protected? And feelings will come up as you ask these questions of yourself. But just get a little feel for it now, and this will be something you can have in the background as we go through the rest of this presentation. And we all need loving attention and touch. We know what that means. We all need guidance and encouragement, like being shown how to do things, or encouragement like, okay, don't keep at it, you can do this, that kind of thing. But also hand-holding at first. Oh, so many parents just kind of give their kid an instruction, but don't show them anything. So the kid's supposed to translate what my dad said to what I'm supposed to do rather than guiding me. That's often missing for a lot of children. And that won't hurt you as much as lack of loving attention. That's not as deep and crucial a need. And that one is often missing, getting guidance. And then co-regulation means when you're upset, when you're afraid, when somebody hurt you, your little friend hurt you, you can go running to somebody for comfort. Like, did you have somebody that you could go to who would hug you and reassure you that you're loved and that your feelings are okay? So many parents do the, oh, you're all right. That's not co-regulation. It's come here. Your feelings are all right. What you're experiencing, you're still all right by me, that type of thing. Because kids, when they're afraid, they don't feel safe. So it's reassuring safety. So that's co-regulation. And some people got really good co-regulation, but
Hi,
some of
comma.
the other things
I
perhaps not.
hope you had a great summer.
And will that person mute themselves,
Looking ahead to
please?
Christmas
You might know who you are and you might not. Okay, one last
and visiting my family in Boston.
I don't know how to
It's
see who's
it's Kelly Kramer.
ah, all right. I'm gonna ask to unmute. Let's see. Okay, she muted herself, I think. Yeah. And the final one is we all need help putting our feelings into words. And again, that's a thing a lot of us didn't get. It's common to not get that, and that's not as vital as some of these others. But like you come in crying to your mommy, and she says, "Oh, did did Frankie walk out on you? I think I saw him walk out on you, and did that hurt your feelings?" And are you sad or mad about that? And just trying to kind of let the kid know that there are words that can help identify the feelings. So now I'm going to stop this share. And right now, just anything come up for anybody that you want to speak to in this little exercise. This is not the main thing I'm going to be doing, but I wanted to just give people a chance. Scott, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say I really notice with my niece, she's three, four, three, just turned four, that when she is crying and distressed, if I just pick her up and hold her and say whatever happened and say, "Do you feel sad?" And
Yeah.
she'll just nod, and it's incredible to me how quickly, like how much that just like locks it in for her. She's just like,
Beautiful.
I feel sad. And then she puts her head on and then just relaxes.
Yeah, yeah.
I
That's
think it really just puts it in a box for her.
yeah. It gives a kid a little bit of sense of control because labels can separate you from your experience, but they can also help you at any age now I'm talking about, or they can also help you own your experience and feel a little more in control when you have
Totally.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think of kids as my weird metaphor is I feel like kids are just all on acid and like everything is just super weird and weird to them. Like there's feelings and all this stuff going on. And just giving them a little bit of like, it's like, oh yeah, this is what's happening.
A
It's
little
okay.
coherence in their world.
Yeah,
Probably, I try to tune into little people and like you and wonder what are they perceiving?
yeah.
So that's a beautiful example. So how many I just want to ask a few show of hands questions, although not many people are on the screen here. But you can just reflect on this question, even if you didn't you're not on the screen. People felt like you had to kind of take care of a parent because this happens a lot that there's a way that you're a little more adult than your parent even. So it's just and it's good to raise the hand that's in your real hand because the other one doesn't show up on the recording, the Zoom hand. So thanks for that. And these are just for you to look at. There's a Taylor Swift song that I just happened to hear when I was watching her Eras tour on of the video. You're on your own, kid. You always have been. I don't imagine that many people pay attention to the lyrics of Taylor Swift here, but that one was like her story of seeking external validation and trying to figure out how to be loved and cherished. And then through her journey, the words have something to do with through her journey, she learned more self-reliance and that sort of thing. So it wasn't quite the infant thinking you're on your own, kid, but quite a few people actually have vague feeling-ish, memory-ish things where they were very young and felt they were on their own and you may be one of those people too. So this this is just simply one story that can come from not having all those needs met. Is I'm basically on my own here. And now I want to come to the whole marriage thing, because that's where your unresolved dependency needs, if you have them, probably most of us have some version of this, will come up. And I believe that marriage is a path, or marriage type relationships, even if you have multiple ones over your life's journey, um, or your poly, whatever, but relationships, but particularly monogamous relationships, because there's more dependency there than when you spread your dependency around among two or three people. So marriage mimics the parent-child relationship. And I did a study way back in the 80s, or in the 70s actually, and wrote the book in 1980 called The Couple's Journey. But I interviewed over 100 couples and they talked about how their relationship had changed over time. And the early stage, this is a generalization, but this seemed to be a theme. The early stage, which I call the romance stage, pretty obvious for that term. You're here to complete me in some way. That the early stages of a marriage have this real kind of dependency, and I think it's got a lot of healthy parts to it. I don't say that the romance is an illusion. But in this context, the romance, you start out pretty trusting, pretty open, and it's kind of like you're being reborn into this new opportunity for love. But after a while, after the bonding happens, we begin to see our differences. So this is called the power struggle stage. And what I want from you isn't always what you're able to give me.
Hi.
So that's a kind of shift in how it feels.
I'm listening to a podcast. If I seem distracted, I am.
Let's see who that might be. Koki is who that was, I think. Thank you for muting yourself.
It's Lisa Atkins.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
again? I pushed. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I already unmuted, or muted, I mean. I don't know why it re-unmuted itself. See if I can find it.
So now we're at the power struggle stage. There's a lot going on here, because we keep trying to get our partner to meet our
1940.
needs. So the power struggle stage is when you want your partner to change so that you can feel better. And I think it helps to see the whole couple's journey, all the different stages, to give you perspective on this. But in my work, I see this whole thing as a healing journey, and as a journey to work through a lot of these unresolved dependency needs. So you get some of your dependency needs met in the romance stage, but it's just it seems to be part of nature to differentiate. Systems theorists and scientists talk about differentiation and integration, that life goes through these different patterns. And so groups go through this too. First we're all high hopes and everything, and then different little individual egos start to want to come out and be recognized. But in the couple's journey, the differentiation has to do with trying to get your partner to change and to be more like you want them to be. And most couples, and think about your own relationships and how far they've gotten, most couples really don't get past some version of the power struggle stage. I mean, that's my experience. I've been a couples therapist for almost 60 years. And people will be married 30 years, and they're still in this in the trigger work that I do, the vicious cycle, like the more she talks, the more he withdraws, and the more he withdraws, the more she tries to get him to talk, and that sort of thing. And so the power struggle is so it can bring you to eventually you can get to the stability stage. When you do actually, when you start to do some inner work, you realize that I'm trying to get his attention, for example, and I don't even give my own feelings very much attention. Or I'm trying to get something from this other person that I never got when I was an infant or a child. And that's pretty much um, how most people do go into an intimate relationship, and how dependency needs from childhood, they show up again, even if you've kind of managed it for a while. These dependency needs will show back up. That need for approval, need for validation, and those are not bad needs. But in the blog, I mentioned a need that one partner had, like the woman in the partnership had the need for her husband to ask her personal questions, like, be curious about me. And she kept, it's like they're married 30 years, and she's always trying to get him to ask her questions. She asks him a lot of questions, and that's her love language. She uses verbalization to connect, whereas his love language is, I'm good if we're both happy. If you're happy, I'm happy, and I don't do curiosity questions. It's not doesn't come naturally to me. So that's their power struggle for so many years. And then when you get to the stability stage, you kind of connect with, oh, he's actually different than I am. He actually doesn't do that. And you begin to that, and this would be the important stage to get to, is the stability stage, where you can own that I've been projecting onto him, needing what I didn't get from my parents, and he's not able to do that. And somehow coming to terms with who you're really with is an extremely important development, so that you can get to being an actual we together. You both realize that you've overlearned something that I've underlearned. I've overlearned talking and sharing, and you've underlearned that. And we can basically accept the way the other person is, and accept that there's something for me to learn about dealing with this other, a real live other. So then you get to becoming a we. Once you're not trying to change the partner, you can actually make decisions together, take action together, and that takes to get to the commitment stage takes quite a long time for couples. And then the final stage that I named was the ability to actually co-create, to like produce a healthy family together, or produce a book that you co-author. But there was a kind of a trend in this culture now for people to be in a couple type relationship and do something together that contributes to the world. Maybe you're just supporting each other in your own separate missions. So all of that is like the journey to become more whole. And the main, I think, indicator of wholeness is I can let somebody else be as they are. That's like super hard. And so during this journey, in order to get to being able to let someone be as they are, you're going to get triggered. And this is where trigger work comes in, and the ability to go, oh, I'm so frustrated. So you have to think back to when you're in one of these power struggles. I'm so frustrated, and I make this mean that I'm not loved, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not respected. Trigger trigger work really is you you have a frustrating interaction where you're not getting some need met, and you make up a story that this is that same old feeling that I had when I was little, that I'm not good enough, I'm not valued, I'm not loved, I'm different, I'm going to be abandoned, I'm being rejected. These are the core fears that people have, people carry pretty much from those unmet dependency needs in childhood. So I'm going to get into a little bit more about trigger work now and how that builds healthy internal structure. But I just want to open it up to questions and comments, and you can have questions or comments about anything. It doesn't have to be exactly what I was talking about.
I want to say something about um, the thing about the children, because up until like age 5, our brain is in the theta wave frequency. And I've heard, researchers about this talk about how we are kind of like in a trance state during that time, which is how we get, so imprinted with everything that happens, especially in that time of life. We're just absorbing and absorbing so much of what's happening.
Yeah, we're extremely sensitive to our surroundings then. And by the way, our nervous system is not even, the wiring in the nervous system is not even fully developed until about 6 months or more, 6 to 9 months after birth. So what happens in those first few months will determine whether you get strong wiring between your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala. And that strong wiring is kind of nice to have because it helps your prefrontal cortex tell your scared amygdala when something scary does happen, like somebody shouting at you or something. I mean, that jars your nervous system. But if you have strong wiring, you have a part of yourself that can kind of reassure the scared part. And it's in a sense, I mean, it's all instantaneous, but you can slow your reaction time down a little bit to going into a panic and go, wait, was that loud voice dangerous or wasn't it? That type of thing. Or is that little squiggly thing in the path, is that a snake or is that a stick? You can slow down enough to check out whether something's dangerous or not. And so that's just another thing that makes us extremely tender for a very long time when we're little. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, thank you. Hi. You mentioned that in the couple scenario that the woman was inquisitive and the man was like, well, if you're happy, I'm happy, and more seemingly simplistic. Um, I would gather that the woman maybe would not be happy in that scenario, right? Like
Right.
that there is
They
some
have
there
different needs. Yeah, they're having different needs. This is one of the most common, because different attachment styles is one of the main polarities that will show up during the power struggle stage. Now, back to you. What
Right.
do you want to say?
So it seems like as simplistic as she has a choice to either accept the way things are and kind of swallow that or find her needs in that area met somewhere else, or decide that this isn't a good fit. I mean, I think I'm on the same page, but I just wanted to be sure. I think.
Yeah, yeah. Once you really get, it's too bad it takes so long to really get who your partner is. But that's a very big growth experience, you know. Geez, my partner is actually different from me, and that doesn't mean anything bad about me. Then I go, okay, I can work with this. It doesn't mean that two people's dynamic can't change, but it can't change as long as you're trying to get your partner to change so that you feel better. You have to look at, okay, this is a need that I have that's a little that's influenced by unmet dependency needs or unmet some other kinds of needs. Um, this this I'm not bringing complete emotional security into this relationship, and I need to be able to own that and ask for help. Whether I get it or not, it's a whole other thing, but it's a different flavor when you ask for help versus when you make your partner wrong for not meeting your needs. And this is a very hard leap to make. Uh, to truly go, okay, this is who I'm with, and this is, you know, this is life. You know, this is my life. And then, but there people do make these shifts, and it usually comes through doing repeated trigger work, inner work, where an emotional trigger is you get some kind of fight, flight, freeze, fear response to something that you didn't want or expect. We're talking about just this normal little emotional triggers now. I mean, they can come from early developmental trauma where real serious needs were not met. But at this stage, that kind of care is not available to you in this relationship, or you see that that's not available. And then you're forced to, like, okay, I have to feel. So the trigger work is I have to feel how terrifying this is to not have this need met. And no, and trigger work means you notice when you're triggered and you own that you are. You own that you're having a pretty big emotional reaction, and stories go on in your head like, well, first the stories are often, this person's wrong for me, this person is incapable of intimacy, or this person's too much for me. I can't handle this person. Stories like that. But deep down, the real significant meaning under those stories are things that have to do with unmet childhood needs, like I'm being rejected, I'm being abandoned, I'm I'm being criticized, I'm being judged. Uh, so they're personal. They're basically whatever this pain is. You we tend, in our child self, we tend to make it about us. And this child deserves our attention. It deserves to be then, okay, but you have to admit you're triggered first and have some idea that that's not just about this guy or this person, this he, she, they. Um, and so you have a concept maybe that that you're blaming. We have to even get that, but you can't get that concept. Oh, I'm doing blaming right now, unless you're somewhat able to own. Oh, because I'm triggered, and that's what I do when I'm triggered. And then underneath it, I go into a self-doubting story when I'm triggered. So when you begin to own what happens when you're triggered, and that's yours to deal with, that you came into this relationship with something of this, then the work is notice it, pause, feel your feelings in a way that's intentional. Intentionally feeling your feelings gives you a certain sense of control, that okay, I'm doing this because it's a good thing it's a good thing for me to do. And as you sit and hold space for your feelings, it's kind of like you're reparenting yourself. A lot of us didn't get any holding of our feelings when we were little. I think most people did not get enough. So, no, that sort of answers my earlier question. Do we all have unresolved dependency needs and wish to be taken care of in a different way? So maybe I'm 50 years old and I realize, well, that's the condition I am in. I'm wishing for something that I never got, and I can't get it from this person, at least not right now, when I'm triggered and when my partner's triggered. Uh, and so this is a time to hold space for myself. And that's a crucial life skill to be able to hold space for yourself when you're triggered and reassure yourself that you're safe. And it takes a lot of practice for some of us because the old threats come crashing back in because the current threat, perceived threat in this case, is so similar to, gee, my partner talks to me in that harsh tone of voice, just like my father did. And I always felt like not good enough around my father, that type of thing, or like he didn't even want me around. And those old stories, of course, they come into your um, current relationships. So when you notice those, see what we're doing here in trigger work is we're developing the witness. We're developing first, oh, I notice I'm triggered, but you need some language for that. Like we were talking in the beginning, how to put these feelings into words. So I'm triggered. It's my old fear of abandonment coming up. Let me be with this for a minute here, for a bunch of minutes. So I'll take Charles's question or Chase's question, and then I'll come back to trigger work. Chase, what have you got?
Hi. Um, so I have a question, and I wasn't really sure how to phrase it, so I'll just give you an example. And actually, my partner Arthur is also in the on the call, so just for some context here. But I actually asked him this question in the chat now, and I asked him if he thought we were still in the power struggle phase.
Hmm.
And so I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. And so we don't really like have a desire to like change each other, but like there are certain things, for example, like around the house or whatnot that we wish each other would be better at in different areas. But it's not like this sort of, oh, I just, wish he was different and, we're kind of like going behind each other and trying to change, like we actively work through it and talk about it and whatnot. And like, we go to couples therapy and it's like this kind of ongoing sort of like process to work through these things. So my question is like, I guess, do you think we have like moved past the power struggle stage and like can like couples still be past like the power struggle phase, but still like, kind of have this like ongoing sort of like work on certain
Yeah,
areas? I,
I get it, and I will ask you maybe for a specific example, Chase. But it sounds to me like yeah, you've got a power struggle stage thing going on. If you want your partner to have, sort of household habits, and I'll ask you for your specific in a minute, but that are more comfortable for you, there's some meaning you give to that. So tell me a specific, and then we'll search for the meaning maybe.
okay, well, this is a very kind of silly example, and it's a very small example to illustrate, but like Arthur has a very specific way that he likes to load the dishwasher. And I have a very more kind of relaxed, nonchalant way of loading the dishwasher. And he has like a very more specific way of loading the dishwasher, and that's a very small, silly example.
Mhm.
But it just seems a bit silly that like something like that would still be considered like a power struggle.
No, it's a great example, Chase. It's just extremely common. I'm imagining there's other people listening who can see themselves in this little example. Um, so, this may not be um, a reflection of developmental trauma in either one of you, but there's some way that if you're like, he likes it done a certain way, and so um that's him wanting you to be whatever. If we could go into this, but I don't think we're gonna have time to truly do the whole thing. But for one person, like, okay, Arthur's um wanting the dishwasher loaded in a more specific way. He there may be long-standing habits that he has developed to make order out of chaos in a certain way. Maybe there was a chaotic home. This is just one possibility. I don't have a read on your partner here, Chase. And then when you hear his um, suggestions, let's say, or you see him reloading the dishwasher or whatever it is, you feel something. And that feeling that you have, your superficial feeling is, oh, this is just a silly little thing. It's not important. Why does he bother with that? But you wouldn't even be bringing it up if it didn't have some other echoes. Like maybe you can tell me you feel controlled or criticized or unfairly judged or something like that. I mean, put it in just ordinary language like that, Chase. What would your feeling be when he uh, wants you to do it differently?
Um, I don't know. It can vary, but I guess worth mentioning is kind of more to my point of what I was trying to get at was I think a lot of these things that we sort of are gradually working through it, like we more see as sort of like us trying to help each other grow in certain areas. So like the power struggle stage to me is viewed as this sort of negative phase in like a relationship, whether
Mhm.
what I mean? Versus like this more feels like an ongoing growth process.
Yeah,
So
well, it could be. If you're going, oh, well, tell me how you think it should be done, and I'll tell you why I like it done this way, and we'll resolve this. Oh, and maybe we'll even resolve it as you can reload the dishwasher after, if you don't like it, that's a resolution. Oh, but I'll probably still do it my way. But if you want to change it, fine. If you're just having a normal conversation and then you resolve it and it doesn't come up again. But the reason, if you brought it up here, I just was thinking, well, maybe this is a recurring theme. So I think you get my general answer here. It's, if you can have differences and you're not in a power struggle stage, but it's when you don't feel heard or you don't feel respected or you feel frustrated. And I mean, frustration's normal in the beginning of a conversation, but you either work it out or it becomes a kind of a theme. So I'm going to leave it at that,
yeah,
Chase.
thank you. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
thanks for your question. How about Heidi has a question?
Hi, Susan. I guess my question revolves around, I really love the idea that I can soothe myself and nurture and take care of myself when my partner is not meeting my needs. However, at what point is it then if he's not working on himself and um then you develop this dynamic where it's like I'm not going to rely on you for my emotional needs anymore.
Mhm.
And so I guess I don't even know what my question is, but that interplay of, okay, I'm just not going to I'm going to soothe myself. I'm going to then what is that the type of relationship I want to be in? Or
Well, it probably takes a lot of soothing yourself and noticing you're still unsatisfied and soothing yourself and then you're going to get to different levels with your relationship with yourself and your partner until you do truly come to an acceptance. I mean, I don't think it just from your tone of voice, I have a feeling it's still quite painful for you. Um, and I mean, we can even learn to live with a certain amount of pain, and there's grief that would come that's like, okay, this is it for me because I'm not gonna separate or divorce this person. So, so this is it. So I live with a certain amount of for a while, grieving your dream, that you had and when you first got together, you didn't see this coming. So, your attitude will shift over time as you continue to love yourself through this, because it really isn't something people can't always meet the other person's needs as the needs are showing up. But as I work with my own needs over and over and over and go deeper, because maybe you need to go, because let's say you're neglected as a youngster. Okay, you're neglected or criticized or somehow not attuned to. So you may have married this partner to help you truly come to terms with the early pain that you never were strong enough to feel when you were tiny, because you're tiny, but now you're big. You're able to feel more. You're able to process a lot more charge. And you may need to really come to terms in an even deeper way with the pain that 1-year-old girl felt. And just grieve with her, be with her. And this is now about the past, but you're coming to terms with the hand you were dealt in this life. And so often we don't ever get to that place where I've really got, whoa, this happened. And this is what I kind of like would have felt if I'd felt strong enough because I was a baby and I had to repress it. And a lot of us, we avoid dealing with let's say an inadequate parent, nurturer person by trying to take care of them. So that's a whole other pattern. That's how we develop the caretaker pattern in our marriage type relationships. So, I mean, this is hard work if you really had a painful childhood. And you'll need guidance. You'll need help. You'll need not to just do it on your own. And let me say this too: when you do come to terms with your own inner wounds enough, you may be able to communicate your needs in a way, or you know, communicate has a lot of meanings. Okay, you may be able to communicate or get your needs across to your partner in a way that doesn't trigger them. And somebody who's kind of walled off, they're protecting, like maybe your partner, they're protecting themselves from their own triggers getting activated. So when you're more like in your own space, might sound idealistic to some of us, but it's a lot of inner work. When you're in your own space, and you come from a request or a need from that place, you often get a different response. And so you might just have to take my word for it, because if you've really been in this for a long time, you're probably going to need some professional help. Let's see, I don't know who. Well, Angela, let's hear from you.
Thanks, Susan. My feeling is a little different at the moment, but I just had wanted to say, I was feeling so much gratitude just being here. Several times I've been here, just what you're sharing. I was noticing that what you were talking about was so meeting my needs for like what I didn't get developmentally. I have such a desire for psychological, spiritual kinds of, like intimacy and um, like regrowing myself as a little being
Mm,
because I didn't get so much of it.
yeah.
And it's like what I'm most interested in and my calling, my path. And I just wanted to acknowledge that as you're talking about that, that is meeting my needs. And I'm imagining a lot of people who are here. I just wanted to say thank you so much for, what you do and putting this out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'll take the other questions in a minute, because I want to bring in the healing of the couple. I mean, the couple, so far I've only talked about self-regulation, and if part of trigger work, see, but trigger work can only be done with a willing partner. I mean, you can do this, the part that I already talked about, on your own, do it when you're single too. But real serious bona fide trigger work requires a partner who agrees that we don't want to come at each other, or we're tired of this vicious cycle. We need, we need to find a way to get kind of like above the level of the problem. The way we define it is, it's your problem. No, it's your problem. And we need to go, hey, this is our issue, our problem. And let's use this for our own inner development, our own growth. And both people are curious about naming their triggers, being able to say a few words at least about where they imagine this trigger originates, like something to do with being ignored as a child, or something to do with being smothered as a child. You might not know exactly, moments when things happen, but you have something where you can go, yeah, I come in with this. So both partners interested and willing to take responsibility for their own flat sides, their own undeveloped sides, whereas ways that they honestly need help feeling better about life or themselves. But see, when you're able to own that and you're not blaming your partner, first you come in with a different attitude. Of course, when you're triggered, you're going to go into blaming and unhealthy stories about your partner that aren't true. Like I can't ever do anything right with her and that sort of thing. So that's what I mean by stories. Uh, but the key is doing repair work where after a trigger, you both sit down together once you've calmed yourself. So that part you're kind of on your own to do. Learn to self-regulate, to get your nervous system back into some receptive place where you're not feeling unfriendly. I say you're ready to repair when you're feeling friendly again towards your partner, even though there's something unresolved, but you're not holding something against your partner. So that's quite a tall order. You come back and you repair and you say, I'm whatever I did, that was the triggered me. That was probably my old fear of being criticized or being rejected, whatever the words are, coming up. So you own it, and you then you either say something like, if I had it to do over, I would have told you, I just am starting to feel need for reassurance. Can we hug? I would, you do and I, if I had it to do over kind of a statement. Or you can just simply say, I didn't mean that. I was triggered. Whatever I did there when I walked out of the room, um, that was my triggered self, but I'm back now. And whatever story I was holding about you, I'm not holding anymore. So that's what a repair looks like. most people, when they call it repair, let's talk this over again with more calm language, still trying to be heard, still trying to, oh, what I meant was, but it's not a repair because you're not owning that you yourself were not quite in your right mind because you're not when you're triggered, you're in your fight, flight, freeze. So that's that's what brings two people into a real ability to co-regulate and be there for each other. Because you can get co-regulation from a partner, and you ought to have a secure enough relationship where you can do that. Can we hug? I need some reassurance. I'm feeling a little bit disconnected. What are you feeling? That normal type of check-ins for reassurance. People, when they're more securely attached, and you can be insecurely attached as a person, but securely attached with your partner. But it takes a lot of work because you really have to go into all the pain that's buried down there of needs that weren't met. When I say have to, no, nobody has to be on this path. But if you're in one of those power struggles with a partner, it probably mean and you're at a class like this, it probably means you're on a growth path. And so you do have to go into some pain in order to grieve what you didn't get, comfort yourself. And I honestly find a lot of benefit in just holding myself, just hugging myself as a reminder, like I'm here for you. And I'm saying that to myself. Um, okay, Sarah, I can take your question now.
Hi, Susan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Um, I think something that I'm really trying to sort out in the interest of healthier relationships is like, is there sort of a rule of thumb as far as like what's realistic to expect? Like, as far as like what is kind of the bare minimum? So I think that I had some unhealthy dependency needs in my last relationship where I thought this person could perfectly attune to me and fix the attunement I didn't have. And I know that now that that was not fair to put on another person. Um, but like, what is fair to expect? I think that I've dated so many avoidant individuals that cannot really give a lot that now I don't know what I should look. What should someone be able to provide?
Yeah, well, honesty. I would demand honesty. I mean, expect is a whole other, thing. I would say, oh, you have to like examine your expectations and talk about those with the other person. That would be the first step. And believe the other person, I mean, like you start out with in the romance stage, it's kind of hard to gauge because there is a tendency to lean into the highest possibility. I mean, this is the deep value of the romance stage. People actually lean into the highest potential for the two of us. They're not quite so much in their rigid frames about what I need. They're more giving in the romance stage. I mean, they're really a better version of themselves a lot of times. And so it's not like bait and switch. And I know we're going a little overtime, but I'm willing to do that. Um, but it's really great if you can, if after you're maybe a little disillusioned, you just keep that question open. What do we both expect? What do we both want? And if a person can't communicate on that level, it doesn't bode well. You know, I mean, so what can you realistically expect? To be able to communicate what's going on inside of you and have the other person not defend against it. Unless you're always going around in a triggered state, but I don't assume that for very many of us. But there are some people who are always going around kind of angry, you know. In fact, I have a very close friend who admits that, you know, and it's true. Her tone of voice is always angry or resentful. So, you know yourself, you know, first before you can even make that judgment. I have a ebook, What Can You Realistically Expect in a Relationship, which is the reprint of a chapter from my book Truth in Dating, but the ebook I sell for like $4 on my website, susancampbell.com. So I have given a lot of thought to what can you realistically expect in a relationship. And one of the things that I say kind of unexpected things like you can expect to grow, you know, and you can expect to be disappointed, things like that. Um, but, you know, get to know what you really need and want and stick by that. Don't stick around with a person who uh, can't talk to you. No, why? That's because you have some belief that he's the only fish in the sea or something. And, you know, so you have to work on that. All righty. Well, Scott, I'll let you have the final word here. Then we'll wrap up. Scott.
Actually, I'm good. The last question answered it pretty
Oh,
much. I mean,
okay.
that's kind of that's basically what I was asking is where's the line? Like, how do you, when you're in that place where you're trying to decide whether you're going to stay in a relationship or not, how do you know if it's just we have work to do or I'm with someone that doesn't work well together? Yeah.
That's a
'Cause I
tough
think that,
question. That's a tough question to answer. I'm glad you found an answer. Um,
yeah.
but I will say one thing, and this is one of the other chapters in the book Truth in Dating is how do you know when this is over? And one of the things I say is, well, first, if it's hurting your health in any way, like you're losing sleep, but also if you're not learning anymore, you know, if you're still learning and growing together, then maybe it's still of value to you. So, you know, that's just another take on your question. I know it's hard to end things, you know, relationships. And now we're going to have to end this webinar too. So, I'm going to, no, I've got a little more on this subject. So I think I'm going to write a blog on this. So stay tuned to my Substack blog because I had like an exercise that I wanted to share with you guys, but I'm going to wrap it up right here. And thank you so much for being here with me today. I do these
Thank you, Susan.
every first Tuesday of the month. Okay, so we'll just
Thank you.
say goodbye.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Susan.
Hey,
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
bye.
Thank you so much, Susan.
That was good.